Yeah. So this is the Superstore dataset that we are having here. So it's a renowned retail store, and it's a dataset that mostly used for. You can use it for your practice for analysis. There's quite a lot that has been done on it. So we're seeing here there are different columns that called category. There's city, there's country. Let me just pull for you this so that you see the descriptions of every. So here is a column description. So there's category, which is talking about the category of products sold in the superstore. Then there is this one which is called city, and it's talking about the city where the order was placed. And then there's country, country in which the superstore is located. Yeah. Then there's customer ID. So we talk about unique identifier. So customer ID, a unique identifier for each customer, customer name, then there's discount which is applied to an order. Market is the region in which the superstore operates. So there's a place where the superstore is located, that's a country, and then there is a market in which the superstore operates. Yeah. And then there is a GLU, this one is unknown or unspecified column. Then there is order date. There is order date, which is date when the order was placed. Order ID, a unique identifier. Order priority, the priority level of the order. Product ID, a unique identifier for each product. Product name, the name of the product. The profit, which is generated from the order. Quantity, the quantity of products ordered. Then there's a region where the order was placed. So you can see there's a region and then there is city where the order was placed. Then there's a region, a column named region where the region where the order was placed. Then there are things like country where superstore is located. Then there's city where the order is. So such like things you need to look at which region and city are matching. Then there's row ID, a unique identifier for each row in the data set. Then there's total sales amount for the order segment. Customer segment is here consumer, corporate, or home office. When was the order shipped? What mode was used? What was the cost for shipping it? For the state or region within the country, subcategory of products. Then the main year, the year in which the order was placed. Then another column related to market information. And there's also week number. Yeah, so these things you could use it for various tasks. For example, data analysis, you want to understand the sales pattern, you want to understand customer behavior, you want to understand profitability again. Yeah. So from even this, you could even understand that I can just have maybe 2 or 3 pages for my analysis, and maybe talk about sales analysis, come and talk about maybe an, an analysis, customer behavior analysis, just customer behavior. You don't have to open to add that analysis. Then you can talk about a dashboard where we are just trying to analyze in-depth profitability. Yeah. Mm, yeah, that's it. So we go back to our data and look at. So keep these 3 questions in mind. These ones. So this data set can be used for various data analysis tasks, including understanding sales patterns, customer behavior, profitability in the context of a global superstore. We introduced, we introduced, let me just have it in, open it in, wow, I'm looking at, I'm displaying some things that should not be displayed. Anyway, okay. Um, yeah. So I wanted to show this one, this global superstar. Yeah. Anyway, so you could be looking at it also from this place. Category that we have. Let me sort it and filter. So in most cases, when you have a data set, the first thing you could do is just to skim through your data just to understand what do you have. So for example, if you go to under category, you could see that we have three categories. There's furniture, there's office supplies, there's technology, right? Makes you just understand quickly. Yeah, if you go to city, there's quite a number of cities here now. You could see Addis Zole, Zwickau, and all that. Then there's different countries. There are so many countries there that you can see. There's customer, so of course customer ID nayo ni mingi. Then there's discount that is applied. Then there's the market. There's Africa, APSC, Canada, and all those, right? You could look at it mpaka ufike towards the end, which is also another market. Market is a similar thing that we had. Subcategory of products. So there's a category of products. I think we saw one here. There's category here, office supplies, which is 3, and then there's subcategory, which you find somewhere on this side. Subcategory, accessories, appliances, art, binders, and all that. Then there's also customer segment. I think there's also segment consumer, corporate, or home office. Vitu kama hizo. Ship mode, first class, same day, second class, standard class, those are the ones that are there. So go through the data just to understand briefly what we have there. If you look at region, there's West Africa, Central, all that. So we come back to our Nini and ask ourselves, so what could be some of the things that a client would like to see from this data? Yeah. So you could ask yourself, what are some of the things that a person will be interested in seeing in terms of as part of our analysis? Yeah, as part of our analysis. That is a question to all of us. So somebody to just respond. So looking at the data that we have, what are some of the things that somebody might be interested in seeing? Yes?
Maybe the sales per region.
Number one, Glory is saying sales per region, eh?
Yeah.
Sales per region. Any other thing? So that is number one. Somebody else? Mariwa, I've seen 2 minutes ago you pushed in an assignment. Now it's 8 minutes. Mariwa, anything that somebody may want to see? Mariwa is silent. James? Gloria amesema sales per region.
I said,
Yeah.
hello,
Yes.
the total profit against the sales done.
Total profit against sales. Okay, anyway, so hapo there is total profit that you could also see, there's also sales. Then there's that proportion. Uh-huh. Somebody else? James?
Okay, maybe we can showcase a card showing the total profit and a slicer showing the, like for example, the segment, and once we choose like corporate, it will show the profit that has been made by that segment.
So there's slicer for consumer segment, customer segment.
Yes.
Customer segment.
And a card for total profit.
Yeah, okay. Something else? That is Steve. Who else? Emily.
Kindly repeat the question I dropped off.
So we now want to do analysis. What are some of the things that a client will be interested in seeing out of this data set that we have?
The expenses.
Okay, expenses, of course, shipment costs, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a shipping cost, so they will want to maybe see what are the total shipping costs
Yes. Over the years.
over the years. Okay. Uh-huh. Anybody else? Steve?
Uh, in our data, there's also a column for discounts. So I think I could be interested to understand the products that had the biggest discount and probably the ones that had the lowest discount in relation to the quantities probably consumed per region.
So discount by product. Rita?
I think the sales per region.
Sales per region had been mentioned by Glory. There could even also be sales by city. Uh, uh, seeing Dr. David, your microphone is on.
You could look at the frequencies
Uh-huh.
of the product sales, the frequencies of the product per region, or just the total.
Okay. Frequencies.
What are the highest frequencies? What product is selling most? What product is selling least?
Yeah. So frequency of sales by region or cities, etc. Who was not answered? Michael, what could we be looking at?
I have internet problem, but you can look at the effect of discount on profit.
Impact. Yeah. Anyway, now let's start building this report. So after we are done building maybe something today, go and edit what you have, because tomorrow we also do something else, and then by Wednesday, same it's something looking really nice. You can post it somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So let's start. So one of the things that you also have to check, of course, is whether like you want your page to be this way. We had talked about maybe increasing the size of your page. You just come to Canvas setting and choose. If 16 to 9 is okay for you, you can work with that. If not, you can choose your own You can choose your own sizes. For me, maybe I will say I want 800 for that height, and I want it to be 1200 for the width. Or if that is making sense for me, then I just go ahead. If not, I'll build another. Yeah. So the first few things that in most cases you also have to first check is slicers. Kwanza angalia, so think of them as filters. So in most cases what I always look at is I first look at creating slicers. But before that, of course, you have to name your page. Ensure that your pages are named. Usiweke zibaki page 1, page 2, right? So this one I may want to name it maybe sales analysis. I may want to name it what I want. Sales analysis, if I want to call it summary, yeah. So sales analysis or sales summary. So let me just call it sales analysis. Yeah. Uh, yeah, so sales analysis. So what else? So I may call it sales analysis here, or I may just come and write sales analysis on top of this part. Okay, but let me just give it a text box. And then with this text box, let me write there and say maybe global superstore show analysis or dashboard, whatever you want to call it. And then now give it a different size, and maybe say 28. Wait. Analysis, and then select this and give it. So you can see what I'll be doing. Maybe 24 is okay. And then I give it up to there. And then I can drag this so that it fits. So that is maybe the title of my my page. You can have a title. If you have a logo, you just put the logo there. It doesn't have to be lazima uandike these titles, right? It's not cast on stone that you have to have a title at this point. So it's upon you, actually. So I just go there, and maybe I want it to be bold. And yeah, that serves me. If I want to maybe change the background of my nini, I'll change it maybe nikimalizana nayo. But now, this is the first thing. I've given it a title. Now I want to look at those slicers that you're talking about. If we have this data here, sorry, something is, okay. So if you have this data here, what are some of the slicers that you think we might need to have? We might need to have a slicer for date. Yeah. Or something
And
like,
for
sorry?
years.
Yeah, for years. Yeah, we have a year here. So we have a year here. We may want to have a slicer for it. Yeah. So that somebody is able to select years easily. There could also be that yenye tunaifanya hapa. There was a shipment date that we could use for our dates. I think I saw something like years here. Order date. Oh yeah, there's order date here. I could use the order date to be our, there's order date and then there's shipment date. Yeah, okay. So let's go back and say, maybe I pull order date. Yeah, I click on order date. But once you click on it, you can see it has automatically picked a table. It won't really come out nice if it picks a table. So what you want it to be picking is to pick it as a slicer. So you change it into a slicer. If you have it as a date, you can see venye imekaa 2011 Q1 to January, yeah. But for me, I will prefer it. It's a slicer we are building, so I just check it. I tick on slicer. If you look here, there are things that it has done. Maybe date hierarchy. Probably you don't want that date hierarchy to be appearing. So you just pick it as order date this way. Date hierarchy, if you have date hierarchy, unaona like it will be picking year, it will be picking quarter, month. So it organizes it this way. Kuna those ticks that you can see, not really ticks, but drop down. If you open it, you can see there is a year 2011. If you open 2011, you can see there's Q1. You open Q1, you can see there's January. Yeah, that is just for one date. Hii date yetu ya first 2011. So instead of having that date hierarchy, you can just take it out so that it picks just the value that we had, which is first stroke 1 stroke 2011. Another thing that you're seeing, it is picking even the day, not really the day, the time. But probably for our order date, we don't want it to, for our slicer, you don't want this time. So what we'll need to do is to go to this. There's a place. Let me see if if it's appearing here. There's something that should be. Let me try to change the slicer setting to something else, and see if it's going to. Oh yeah, between. Yeah, the moment I pick between hizo times zimeenda. So you just change the slicer settings. We had talked about slicer settings during our introduction, but let me go back to where it was. So initially we were at this point. So when you want to change the style of this slicer, because this is also one style where somebody just comes and picks this, anaweza kuja pick this, but it might not really be nice. You may want to click it and come to this part where it's called format your visual. Then click format visual, and then there are things that you can change here. Number one, there is slicer settings, where you can change how this data is appearing. Then under this part called options, you can click it, and then there is vertical list, the style. If you have it as a tile, it's this way. You see how tiles do appear hata kwa nyumba, zinakuwa arranged hivyo. You can see. If you don't want that, there is between. There's between now where you have this slider. So you can slide it around and pick dates that you want. Pick the dates that you want, right? This one. You will see its impact when we pull in a card. There's also even before. So before a certain, so you want to see sales before a certain date. Yeah, so now how it drags. There's also even after, there's drop down. There's this drop down. Now where you have dates EV. Yeah, dates ordered in this way. There is also, so these are things. So for date, I prefer between, having it as between. So even I can remove this slider. This slider, I can remove it by coming to this place written slider and click off. So when I click it that way, now you can see that the slider is not there. Now I can just pull here, and then if I want to see a certain date, I click this thing that looks like a calendar, and then use these drop downs to now select. I want to see maybe from 4th May 2011, and then I want to see it up to maybe maybe 13th of August 2013. So I've selected the dates that I wanted. Otherwise, let me just bring it back to where we were, which was first, and then this one was. If you have too many years, let me see. If you have too many years, right, and you want to do your selection, you can just click here and click December 2014. You can now see 2014, I can easily select January here, right? If I click again on 2014, yeah, I can now easily go back 2013, 2012, yeah, instead of like just coming at this point and selecting. I mean, this one might take you time. So you just click on this part and then select the year that you want, and maybe it's May, and then now you can select the date. Yeah. Have you been able to see that? Are you together or somebody has a question? Yes?
And Boniface,
Yes.
maybe I'm a bit ahead. You see now the measures.
Yeah.
There was a way you were to show us how to arrange the measures on top.
Oh, no, we'll talk about that. But I had mentioned it in the previous video. So you can also go and check it there because we did it in the last class.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's all about going enter data. You'll see it there. So there's this order date of ours, which you have created now the slicer. But when you look at it, January 1st, 2011, 12/31, 2014, they are really small. So you may want to increase their size. So when you want to edit a visual in Power BI, you select it first and then come to this place. So you can see you can use this part to change the visual, but you can use this plate to format your visual. So you can go here to slicer settings, which we have done, right? I can go to slicer header. If I put it off and put it on, you can see the slicer header is called order date. And then another thing is, so slicer header, if you want it, you may have it. If you don't want it, you can just put it off. And then once it is off, you can come to general, and then you can see it doesn't have a title. Slicer header and title are two different things. Let me leave the slicer header on and then go to general and title. Under this title, it's off. So if I turn it on, you can see here text. I can give it a name and maybe call it date filter. Date filter. If I have date filter, now you can see there is date filter. But so it's not really nice if you have a slicer header and then you have a slicer title. Not really a slicer and a visual header and then a visual title. Let me not be specific on slicer. So once I've given it a title, I can go back and maybe remove even this slicer header so that it remains date filter. Once you have that title, you can give it a different, even size. If you want to increase size, you can see here, the more you increase, of course, if it gets to 17 in achana nayo, now it gets to 20. If I continue to add it past even 20, yeah, it's still going. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's working. But there's a point where it doesn't increase in size. But this one is too big. So you can just leave it at maybe 20. No, even 20 is too big for that. Let me give it 15. Yeah, 15 makes more sense, or 16. So it's you now to decide what is the size of my header that I want to give it, right? You want to choose on text color. Do you want to make it bold? You can click there on bold. Text color, you may change if you want. Do you want to have a background for that title? You can choose a background if you want. So for example, now you can see that background. Do you want to change a text color? You can change it to a color that you want, right? Yeah. So that is just editing the title, which now we can close once you are comfortable. But this one, sizes of our values, they're still small. So you come here under visuals, then there's a part called values. You open it so that you see it's Segoe's UI. Then there's 9. So size is 9. So I can increase the size so that zikuwe legible. Now you can see it is, but that might be too big. Let me give it 11. And then if you want to make it bold, you can also make it bold. Otherwise, you can just leave it the way you want. If you want them to be italicized, there it is, right? If you want the font color to have a different color, you can also give it. But then that one is that. If you want the values to have a background, you can give it the background you want. But that one is not really nice. So you can play around. So it depends on how what? I missed what I wanted to say there, the term. But anyway, those sizes you can change them that way. Then now your slicer is a little bit big, so you can just resize it so that it makes more sense, and then pull it maybe towards this part, any part that you want the slicer to be sitting on, maybe even here. So it's upon you to know where you want your slicer to be sitting. Global superstar analysis was, yeah, let's give it up to there. Yeah, so this is my slicer. So I can also change another thing, which we did last time. Give it maybe a shadow if I want, give it round corner if I want, you come back to this format visual, and then there is general, and I can go to effects. Do I want a background for my slicer? Maybe if you want, yes. For me, I don't want. You can change the color there. Do I want, yeah, but again, you may give it certain color and then reduce the intensity of that color. Yeah, you can see the more I use this slider for transparency, the more the color becomes blurred out. 84 now you can see there. But let me give it at 0, but then I go back to my color which was white. Another thing, do you want a visual border? Right now you can see that there is no border around my visual, my slicer. So I can come here and say, go to general, and then there's effects, then say visual border. Let me put it on. Now you can see my card has a certain, my visual has a certain border. Yeah, a black one, which you can also choose the color by just clicking on it and going to general, and then there's effects, and then you can choose the color. If you say maybe wewe unataka this color, you can see the color of my visual border has changed. Otherwise, I can just go back and change it to, go to general and change it to visual border and change it to maybe black that I had. Something else, if I don't like sharp corners, yeah, I do have problems with the sharp corners, by the way. And if I see, maybe jump into a website and somebody has sharp corners for maybe a book with us now, and that rectangle has sharp corners, sometimes I feel tensed, right? So these things are, whenever you're building dashboards, there are things that you have to consider. You have to consider, like, what is the color that I'm using? Is it a color that is um, soft? Is it a color that is shouting? Is it a color that scares people? Is it a color that is very calm and such like? And of course, it depends again on the field that you're operating. And you saw that example when you were talking about the avocado data last time, when we introduced dashboards, and we used green color because avocado, probably the color is green. It's in the agriculture space, right? So such like stuff that you have to consider. There's quite a lot. So for me, I always, in most cases, of course, there are some that I don't use sharp corners, right? That I use the sharp corners, sorry. But there are some considerations that you make when choosing what to have. So if you also maybe feel scared when when you see sharp corners, then you may want to use rounded corners, right? So when you go to this visual border, there's a part written here, rounded corners. Do I want to have rounded corners? Maybe yes. So I can just pull this thing kidogo and maybe say 10 pixels. So you can see now my corners are rounded. Yeah. Another thing that probably you want, see lazima, I'm just doing general. Probably you wanted to have a shadow for your visual. You can click there and come and say, come to this one, your visual border, not really visual border, but shadow. Then click on. Then you can choose the direction. Do you want the shadow to be outside or inside? If you want it inside, you can see how it is turning around if you are inside, right? If that is nice for you, you go ahead. If you want it to be, so under effects, there's that shadow. If you want it to be outside, that is okay. You also choose where you want it to be. Bottom right, bottom left. If you choose bottom left, you see where the shadow is now facing. If you choose the bottom right that we had, so under effects, shadow, bottom right, then you can also see what is happening there. I think I've talked about that. Position is not really. Slicer values I've talked about. There's a slicer header I've talked about. Slicer settings I've talked about. Now you can pull it to where you want it to be. Any question before we bring another?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the question. You initially you started by saying there's a difference between the title and header. What did you mean?
Yeah, let me just show it. So you can see there's a title for the visual that you have. Then there's a slicer header. So there's a slicer header. You could even have a pie chart header. So that pie chart header, it's generated from the column that we have built it using, right? So let me just do this and go back to my slicer and pull in slicer header that we had. No, yeah. So if I pull slicer header, you can see kuna something called order date. We built it from this one, order date. Yeah, but we can at the same time have a title for the visual that we have created. I may decide to just continue and use this order date, right, and then remove my title so that I go back to my slicer header and edit it. Maybe give it a title, give it that heading Evo. You can see there's title text, which I can also edit and say order date, right? And give it the same edits that tulikuwa tumepeana, and come back and maybe give it a background if we might need to have a background for it, maybe that one, and then have it this way. Yeah, but it depends on what you prefer. For me, I don't prefer using the slicer header, the visual headers, those ones. I prefer using title. Are we together, Daktari? So it's just a matter of what do you prefer to use. Do you prefer to have a title for your visual, or you prefer to just use that slide, the one that you generate from the column that you're using? Yeah.
Sawa. Thank you.
Any question? Sometimes naweza kuwa nimeenda haraka sana. James, are we together?
Yes.
Okay. Glory, are we together, and have you been able to create that slicer?
We are together, but I wanted first to get to understand, so I'm going to create it right away.
Okay.
But I've understood.
Steve? Are you together, Steve? Rita? Michael? Hans?
Yes, we are together.
Hansent? Then there is Re. That's not Stanislas. Okay. Revolver is saying we're together. Okay. Yeah, so that is one thing that you've done. Another thing, so let me create maybe another slicer maybe yenye tutaweza hitaji kutumia could be a category, right? We may also need to have a category, a slicer for category, right? So furniture, office supplies, so that somebody can easily select. So you can see it has come as a table, you just click here slicer so that it's changed. If you want it to be left this way, you can. Otherwise, you may come back to slicer settings and pick, maybe I want it as a drop down. Yeah, or you want it as a tile. Yeah, so there are some people that might want it as a drop down, might want it as a so maybe let me say I want it as a drop down. So once I do that, I can just resize it so that it's more better. But again, the edits that I had done here, I can copy them to this visual. So I can come and select this slicer, and then there's this part called Format Painter. The Format Painter, I can click it, and then now you can see I have something that looks like a brush. So I can come and pour it here. Now you see there are edits that has been copied. But something that has not been copied, of course, I go back and I click on my slicer, go to this part. I can remove the slicer header. I can go to the title and say category. So once I have it that way, you can see everything is just okay, Sasa. Maybe this one, this size, yeah, all, which I can go back and come here and the general values, maybe increase its size. No, let me just leave it at 12. This one was also 12, so you also need some sort of uniformity even when doing your things. So you can pull it and drag this one down. And then now you see Killer Kit is sitting on that part. If you don't want them to be that close, you can just pull it a little bit so that it has a space there. Yes. Is there a question? Your microphone is on, Dr. David.
I missed.
Sorry? Oh, okay. Yeah. So
it was a by mistake.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, so you can see maybe you've done this. I've just given you some examples of slices. Now, there are things that we might want to see. We might want to see the total sales. What was the total sales that we made? I'm seeing here something called sales, so I may want to pull it in. So you can see the way it's sitting that way. I may want to change it to a card. So now I have it as a card. Then there's some. Do we have another thing here? January 2015. Okay, now. Yeah, so you can see the total sales that we made was 13 million. But somebody might be interested in seeing maybe 13 million could have been rounded off. Yeah, maybe it was 12 billion and 900 and something. So rounding it off 13 million will not be giving maybe a good picture. We can as well edit this card. We go back, we click on it and come to this format visual. Then there's call out value. Then there's category label. Category label is this one, sum of sales, which I can put off. And then instead of category label, I come and say title and give it a title called total sales, I'm a sales amount. Sales amount, right? Then I go back to this part here visual. There is 13 million. I want to edit this call out value. So you just come here to call out value. If you want to change the size, you can change from this point, increase or decrease it. So you play around with that, which we talked about. But one thing that you need to check is upper display units. It's telling us auto, right? It's telling us auto. If you say none, then it gives you the exact value. See, you can see the what I was talking about. That sometimes ilikuwa ni 12,000, but because of rounding off, you may round off to the nearest nini I mean, it has rounded it off to a higher value, not really the nearest. So this is 12.6 rounded off to 13, which is a very huge value. So having that exact number at 13 million might not be making sense, right? Okay. Yeah, sorry. Something was distracting. Um, yeah, so you could see. Do you want to put it as auto? Auto, of course, it has just rounded it off for you, but now you can define what you want to see. Do you want to see it in thousands? Doesn't really excite when you have it in thousands. Do you want to see it in millions? It's 13 million. Do you want to see it in billions? It's 0 billion. Do you want to see it in trillions? 0 trillion again. You could leave it at auto. But once you've left it at auto, you can define the decimals that you want, the number of decimals. E equal auto, so there's no decimal. So you can say 1 decimal or maybe say 2 decimals. So 12.64 makes more sense as compared to 13 million. Agreed or not agreed? Yes? Yeah. 12.64 makes more sense as compared to Nini. So those are also some of the edits that you could be doing for your card. Yeah. Another thing, I think for cards, they have not so much to edit apart from the title and maybe effects. Now you hizo mambo na colors that we had talked about, visual border, do you want it to have? Maybe yes. And then now once you have that border, you can reduce the size of your thing and maybe try to copy the formats there and paste it here. The only thing that I may not want to have here so you can also do it this way and then come and place this one next to this card and then drag it. If you drag it, of course itakuwa imefunika hiyo nini, so drag it, pull it down. So the fact that you may pull down, I might also require to just pull these ones also down so that you have some sort of uniformity with your the uniformity also makes sense kwa the distance between the two things. So these shadows now you're seeing hazikai kufurahisha zikiwa hapa, so I might as well go back and remove them. So I can just go back to effects and shadow, put them off, go and remove also this one, put them off, remove this one, put them off. So that, so that mine doesn't have what you call these one shadows. Yeah, so data inakaa tu hivyo. You see? So 12.64. Now, the importance of having a slicer sasa, we can come back to this category and say furniture. And then you can see furniture value yake was 4.1 million. I can come back and say maybe office supplies was 3.79 M, right? I can come back and see maybe technology, it was 4.74 M. Are we at that point? If you don't want to select any, you just click back what you have selected and see. So there's that. Something else that we might also maybe want to see is what? There's consumer category. There is what? No, before consumer category. We may want to see even sales by category of people, right? So, not category of people, but consumer category. There was something called the subcategory, product name. There was this thing, customer category. Let me see. Which, of course, not this one. It was called what? segment. Yeah, this one is segment. We want to see sales by you mentioned sales per region, slicer your customer segment, total shipping cost, discount by product, sales by city. Okay, let's pull sales. I pull it in here. Once I have this sales, but I want to put it as a pie chart. Once I have it as a pie chart, I want to, now you are seeing this part. So once I have it as a pie chart, there are things that you can see here. There's a legend, then when you slide down kidogo, there's values, then there's a part called details, right? So legend ni how you are going to subdivide this thing. This pie chart of yours, right? The value that you are using is sum of sales. But now, what do you want to see? Maybe you want to see sum of sales by customer segment, which somebody mentioned. So I come here and click segment. When I click segment, automatically imetuwekea hapa segment. So I can pull this and maybe place it somewhere here. Yeah. The same way we did, we may want to edit this one. So the way I've selected it, I can come to format visual, right? And then there is this part called legend. Do you want to see the legend here? If I don't want to see it, I can just put it as off. If I want it to be maintained, I can just leave it. Yeah. I can also decide which colors am I using for these parts by coming here to slices and say maybe consumer chukua color fulani, kama maybe chukua this color. You see it has changed. For corporate, chukueni this color. You see it has changed. For home office, nataka kuwapea maybe this one. Now you see you have defined even the colors that you want for your need. But sometimes you have so many products here that you cannot define the colors for each of them, right? Otherwise, let me just go back to the color that I had. Let me see the colors that okay. Yeah, this one. So I have these colors. Details label it are these things. You can see 2M, 18.27%, 4M. Those are what we call the details label. So you can decide where you want them to be. Position outside or you want them inside. If you want them inside, it appear evil, which is not really very nice. So you can say I prefer outside or just maybe just outside. You can also choose what information is supposed to be presented here by going to this one here, label contents, and say you only want to see category. You can click there and then you can see home office, corporate, consumer. You only want to see maybe data value, which might not tell a lot. You only want to see percent of total. You may want to see category and data value, which is home office, tuliuza 2M, consumer tuliuza 7M. You may want to see category and percent of total. Home office accounts for 18.27%, consumer accounting for 51.48%. Yeah. You can also come to data, value, and percent of total, which we had at that time. Otherwise, you may want to have everything. So once you have everything this way, it will mean that segment now is really not important. This one, consumer, corporate, whatever. So you come back to this legend and remove it. So everything is covered here, right? Another thing, maybe your values are tiny, and also the same thing that we talked about, maybe values, even the colors in a zimeparara, you may want to give it a completely black. Yeah. And then Maybe size kama hazikufurahishi, you may want to increase it to 10. If you want them bold, you may have to put them bold that way, but maybe it's not gonna be nice. Once you are there, then there's display unit, auto. If you say none, then you can see home office equal 2 million, right? 2,309,956 hivyo. But that one can be too huge because that data point ni kubwa sana. So what you could do is just to play around with the percentage and say maybe 2%, 2 decimals, percentage of decimals, 2. Why is it not changing? Oh, okay. I was editing the wrong thing. Percentage decimal instead of value decimal. Value decimal uiweke 2 so that ikuwe 2.31 m, 3.82 m na hivyo. That becomes that. Any question on that? So we could come to this point also and talk about the title, sum of sales by segment. So you could say sum of sales by segment could be maybe refu. You could just maybe remove that sum and say sales by segment so that it remains sales by segment. You may want to bolden it, give it a color, and then of course you got 00. If you want it to have a background, maybe you could, no, background inafaa kama naipea background, it should be maybe similar to this. So that background is not okay. Let me see if it's this one. Which is still not it. And probably that is the one that is it. Yeah. Otherwise, I can click this one and copy it and just pour it here so that it gives us what you want. And it's the same. It has also picked rounded corners, but for this one, maybe I don't want this one, but a rounding of corners. So if you don't want it to be rounded, you can just go back to effects and say visual border, remove it, and maybe remove even the visual border so that it remains this way. If it remains that way, yeah. Otherwise, if you want it back, you just go back and put effects and go to visual border and say on, so that you also know where your name is starting and ending. So if you are comfortable with that size, you can leave it that way. We just pull it up to this point. Any question? Any question? I want to hear a question.
Okay, Mr. Boniface,
Yeah.
my chart, it does not have the headings like consumer, corporate, and home office on the chart. Mine does not have this one.
Aina hizi home office, corporate, consumer.
Yeah, haina.
You click this, go back to nini and kuja hapa kwa detail labels. Then kuna label contents and click all detail labels.
Okay. Detail labels. Yeah, imekuja. Asante.
Okay. Any other question? Yes? Mariwa, are we together? Mariwa? Okay. Anyway, if somebody is feeling kama mtu ako behind, you can ask a question. Something else you may want to see what? So we are doing this thing so that tomorrow, before the class starts, kila mtu, you present your dashboard. Tuone what you have done. You present it. So today and maybe the better part of tomorrow, just analyze this data and present quite a number of things that you may present. If you had already done it, go and edit what you had, right? So there is sales by segment. We may also want to see maybe sales by, even before that. Let's now see the effect of these things, category. Yeah. So we see sales by segment. Let me click furniture. So if I click furniture, sales by segment, furniture imeuzwa sana kwa consumer, the segment of consumer, which is 2.13 M. The list ni home office, which is 0.72 M. If I click maybe office supplies imeuzwa tena mingi kwa consumer, then they followed by corporate and then followed by home office. If I click technology, consumer still, corporate, and then, so this is now the effect of, so this one is the breakdown of 4.74 M. So 4.74 M broken down by segment. What else? Another thing that you may want to see is the date filter. If I need to filter maybe what are the sales between a certain period, which you've also mentioned, and maybe I want to see between when? Maybe 2012 sales ilikuwaje, right? I can just come here and pick. So we are at 2012, I click on January and start with first. And then I pick my end date, I come to this side, click it, go back to December, and then you have 31st. So I can see in 2012, tuliuza a total of 2.68 million. Yeah, 2.68 million was sold in 2012. In terms of category, furniture tuliuza 858 million. Yeah. Office supplies we sold 795 million. Technology tuliuza 1.02 million. 1.02 million. Yeah. Here you can see that 1.02 million. Consumer took the better part, 569 million, followed by 292 million, and then 161 million. Is it true how we are reading these values? So break down this 1.02 million into all these. Oh yeah, makes sense. It's okay. 161 million, 292 million, 569 million broken down. So that is in 2012, the impact of Slicer. You may want to see what? You may want to see a map showing maybe profit by region, right? Profit by region. So there's this part for map. Before I pull in map, let me see what somebody's mentioned, which was discount by what? Slicer by customer segment, total profit against sales. Yeah, we may want a card here for total profit, by the way. So if we have and in most cases, for me, I always have my cards zote zikiwa huku juu. Cards and slicers zikae huku juu. Now I'm seeing his space might be ndogo for me. I might need to increase the size of my page. Go to Canva settings and then the width. I may want to increase it to 1300 just to see if I can get an extra space. Yeah, if not, I may want to see it go to 1400. Yeah, then now my page is that way. I mean, see lazima. This is just for me. You can pull it that way and pull it this way, and then I want to have a card for which another thing I can do is just to duplicate this card, right? So that I don't have to go back to do anything, blah blah blah, and all those so many things. I can duplicate this card, just copy visual, right click, or maybe just Control plus V, which we are used to, and pull it to this side, right? So I want this one to have the sales amount, then I want this one to have the profit. So I can come here, you're seeing here kwa fields, sum of fields, and then I remove it, piga 2x, and then I come and look at profit, and then profit, and I click, then it goes to my field. Let me click on profit. Yeah, sum of profit. So you can see maybe profit apple, and then the sales amount, which I can now change the title and say profit. So you can see profit imeniambia 307.42k. I can come back and maybe edit that call out value and say if I say none, itakuwa ni, let me say auto. Yeah, so it's 307.42 thousand. 307.42 thousand. So that is the profit that we have made. Yeah. So that is also another card that you may want to see. So if you want to see now profit, furniture inatuletea profit ya 58,000. No, that was in the year 2012. Office supplies ikaleta profit ya 103,000. Technology brought 145,000. Yeah, so you can see now the movement. If you like, you may want to be having tiny spaces between your slicers and your cards, so that kukuwe na ka space hapo. But I wanted to see profit by region. So I can pull in a map. I may pull in this map and maybe place it hata hapa chini. And this one also I want to pull it across. Yeah, so once I have a map is going to ask me maybe location. Yeah, if I have latitudes and longitudes, I may want to add it there. But now let me say location and bring in, was it region? Let me see what we had here. So there's country, the country in which Superstore is located. There's something region, the region where the order was placed. So we can see, we can use this one here, region, right? The region where the order was placed. Is it the region or we use country? Country in which the superstore is located. Yeah, let's use country. So I go back to my visual and bring in country. So location is what? Country. Click it, and then it's doing those things that it's doing. And then what do you want to see? Maybe profit, bubble size. So under bubble size, we bring in profit. So the moment I click profit, you can see, hey, that is country. Country haiwezi kuwa vizuri because there are so many of them. There's a concept that I want to, let us not use country. Countries ni mingi. We may want to use region. Let's see profit by region. Wait, this one should be, this one should not be here. It should be under location is, you drag it there. Yeah. Let's see if this one is what we can make sense out of. So we have so many regions under Europe. So you can see there are so many data points that are here, but we may want to enlarge it. How do you enlarge? We can edit this map so that you have this part map settings. What is the style that you want? There's a style called road, there's a style called aerial, which you can have that way. There's a style called dark, which you can have this way. There's a style called light, which we were on. Then there's grayscale, which is that one. Then there is road. So which one do you want us to use? Which one has got your attention so that we use it? James, which style do you want us to use? There's aerial, dark, light. So Mbidi is saying aerial. So let's use aerial. So aerial is this one, right? Another thing, you may want to increase the size, like you want to zoom in and zoom out. Once you have zoom in and zoom out, you can come here to controls and then say there is auto zoom. There should be something for a plus, lasso button, not lasso button, zoom buttons. Yeah, zoom buttons. So zoom buttons. So with zoom buttons, you can see you can do a plus, uongeze the sizes. Yeah. And then you can drag them up to the point where you want to focus on. So zoom buttons. So kuna this part here. I'm seeing, yeah. So that one was the region. Let me see what regions we have by just bringing it somewhere here. So we have Africa, Canada, Caribbean, North. Is this one really nice if we use it for that? Ama we use, so there is West Africa, Caribbean. There is also another market. There's market. Yeah, let's use market instead of region. So profit by market. Africa, APSC, EMEA. So let's go back to the map. Instead of using region, let's use market. Where's your region equal? Of course, you can use it, but region haileti shangwe vizuri. So let's see market. Yeah. Now this one can make more sense. So that if I zoom in or even just zoom out, let me zoom out. You can see automatically that there's a region in Africa here that is giving us pesa sana. If you compare it na this one, it's hii Africa ni kubwa, si ndio? 894, 10.8. This one is 83. The other one was 894. So you can see the bubble size ni bubble size ya this part yenye iko Africa hapa. I don't know which market it is. Okay, it is APAC is leading in terms of profit. If you look at this one, LATAM 50, 184. The other one there is US is having 61, 618. So Africa iko, APSC Africa iko kubwa. Then there's another market here called Africa 11908.935. Then there's another one here which is EMEA, which is 5419. So that is also now even the essence of a map. Let me delete this one and bring in this map to see it. So there's another thing which you have to also look at, which is how you have organized your nini. What I have done here for profit, we might not need it here because there's sales analysis. So this one, we might need it in a different page called profit analysis, right? Profit analysis. So I can go back to my sales analysis and maybe copy this visual, come and paste it here. Control V, and even delete it from this other side, right? But I was just generally showing you what you could be doing here. If you meet a challenge that your map is not showing, there's a place here you can go to File, and then there's Options and Settings. Then there's Options, and when you get to Options, nafaa ipatikane somewhere. Oh, it's still loading. Inakuwa kwa regional settings. Is it not really regional?
Security.
Security. Oh yeah, security, and then
Maps
AJS, this one. Use map and fill map visuals. Yeah. So if you find your map haifanyi, you can come and check this one. Probably nimeenda mbio sana hujaona. So you go to File, then there is Options and Settings, then there is Options, and then after you get to Options, you wait for it to load, and then you go to Security, and then check this one. If it is off, hiyo map haitafanya. You have to check that it is on. Other things that you can do, there are different cards that you can add there. Then you can even pull in a donut chart. Once you have a donut chart there, you can do maybe sales by what? You can even have one for sales by city, so that we have there is something, by the way, instead of using a donut map, the sales trend. We may want to see our sales trend by what? By even by months, right? Let's see. Let me see if it's going to work. But bring in this one, line stacked, and then pull sales. So sales is going to be in our column Y. And then there's x-axis where we can bring what? Year. Let's just bring year. Not sum of year, but year sasa inafaa ikae kwa x-axis. So it's 2012 because data yetu tulikuwa tumeiweka 2012, so we go back and say January and check where it is ending. Go to, was it 2014 deck 31st? So you can see profit yetu total tumeweka ni 1.47. Now you can see the sales trend. Yeah, which you can also edit. Let me talk about it in a minute. Let me connect my charger, ama it can sustain. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah. So sum of sales by year. So instead of sum of sales by year, we could call it maybe sales trend. Title maybe sales trend. Sales trend. Sales trend. Yeah. Of course, somebody will automatically see that this is sales trend by year. Yeah, you can copy my things and then come and just pour it there. So I have sales trend there. So sum of sales, you might also maybe not want it to have just one color, ikuwe tu ni blue yote. So kila year ikuwe na color yake, you click it and go back to this place where you have line y-axis, then there's column legend. Column legend you can pull in year again, column legend. So unaona kila mwaka iko na nini yake, kila mwaka iko na color yake. And the same things that we did in terms of changing even the font type, not really font type, font size and all that, you can also do that. If you don't want to have grids, you can see there are grids in your map. You can go back there and click here under grid lines and maybe say off. That is, the horizontal ones are already off. Go to vertical ones, put them off also, so that you don't want to see the grid lines. So you can see, and also somebody might not easily see the values that we sold by year, right? But they are already seeing that there is a sales, there's increase in sales, right? So you may want to add data labels. Is it data labels or totals? Totals, yeah. You may want to add the totals. If I say data labels itakuja iweke hapo ndani. Yeah, so either way, which one do you want? Do you want the totals? So if you want the totals, you can come here to values, change the color and display units. You may want it to be none. If you want it to be none, so it becomes that way. Unaona 2014 we sold 4,300,041. Another thing, so here in a comma, right? So how do you introduce that comma? Yes. Let me check. You just come here to the values. Values ni sales. I can come here to sales, click on sales. Sio kwa sales hapa, you click on where it is appearing and then come to this point and put a comma. Is it working? It's bado inazunguka zunguka. Yeah, now you can see it's easier for somebody to see that we sold 2,259,511 in 2011 as compared to venye ilikuwa. It's editing ama it's running. Yeah. Yeah. Now you can see now it's easily readable now. The values that we had. But now the fact that we have these ones, we might not need the y-axis. Let me see if we can remove the y-axis. I've never title. Do we have a place to remove the y-axis? Yeah, we may want it to be off, right? Now you see y-axis, if you don't want it now, the fact that we tayari tumeweka nini, tayari tumeweka the values on top. Otherwise, you may have the title as sum of sales there. Otherwise, you might want to just bring back the nini, so it depends on you. Up to that point, is there any question? Yes. Another card that we did not bring is quantity. You may bring in a card called quantity and change it into card this way. So you can see the sum of quantity that we sold was 178K. This is a card that can be sitting upper juu. Yeah. If you don't find a space, you maybe put it in the next line. Or if you like, you may just want it to be katikati. Or if not katikati, uzipange in another place here, because dashboard is also about how you have arranged it. So I may want to have this sum of quantity ikuwe hapa. Another thing you may want to have is what? Quantity. There was that one for returned. Anyway, I'm not seeing something returned, or maybe discount. Discount we can also bring and maybe say we have given sum of discount 4172. I don't know whether it is discount in value or the number of discounts that you've done, but I'm just showing you that now you can have even these cards play arranged in a certain
A
way.
question.
Yes.
Yeah. So for practical purposes,
Yeah.
you may not show different colors for sales. Ideally, it would be one color for all the years. But
This
you
one.
may want to show profitability of how much profit you are making against the sales. In which case, each box or each bar would have two colors, one for profit and one for total.
Oh yeah. That
Same
one can
sales
also.
would be divided into profit, and maybe the rest would be expenses or cost, whatever you want to call it. But then you'd have different colors for on the same bar. One part of it showing profit, part of it showing maybe the cost or expenses, and then the total there is the sales, instead of having different colors for the different bars. How do you do that?
That can
Yeah.
that can be done because you only need to change this to maybe. Oh, I used
Say like they would be a color like blue, and then you want to show part of that bar is profit.
So you could do it in two ways. You could stack them so that you have sales and then you have profit on top of it, or yeah. Let me just take 5 minutes. We stop at 21:45 so that we finish up on this. And then we can go and practice overnight and then present something tomorrow. Before I tell you more things that we could do, like drill down. You want to see top 5 sales and things like that. Yeah, so that question, yeah, you could do it in two ways. So let's look at this one, clustered column chart, where you have two things stacked sideways. So you can see this way, and then I can introduce another. So hapa kwa sum of sales, I can also have profit. I drag profit to sum of sales hapo kando. Now you can see in 2011, the sales was this much, profit was this much. There's that one, Daktari, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll also be having this. Otherwise, you could have it maybe
But in the same bar, without like that. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I was giving two explanations that you can have viewer stack, then you can also have this one. So the sum of sales hapa you can see 438, but now this total ya hapa ita to favor, so we go back and edit it and say
can it be vertical? Can we use vertical bars?
Oh, you want it vertical? Okay.
It's just yeah.
If you want it vertical, you just do this one. Favor. Then this one will not.
So that figures are not sorted.
This, yeah, but there's only one thing that is not sorted that I want you to. So instead of total labels, in this case, we might use data labels. So if you use data labels, you can see 3.4 sales and then there's 0.4. Now you can also edit these values. Instead of having the data label C4, you come and say value decimals, that is auto number of decimals. maybe I want none. If I say none, yeah, so it's easily seen. Then value decimals, I may have it as 0, and then I can change this color, hii color yenye iko huko juu, because it's blinding, or I change the color of the values, right? The color of these ones. So instead of this color, we may want it to be white.
Yeah.
Is it working? It's loading. Let me see. Value. Why the colors not changing? So I don't know. These are the colors for what? But it should be for values. Value. Yeah, it should be the color for values. Unless it's my laptop, not really my machine. Otherwise, it should be changing equal white or different color. Yeah. So you could do it that way. I think your question is answered, yeah?
It's answered. It's just a matter of now that what is cost, what is profit.
Oh, yeah. By the way, so
because quantity will give a different
hapa sasa
cost
what you can
different.
even have the legend now on telling you that the blue one is sales, the dark one is is profit.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question? Are we good for today? Before we go and do a deep dive into it, fanya tu sales analysis na ukuje ufanye profit analysis hapa, and then ukuje ufanye this other part. This other part was talking about maybe customer behavior. Customer behavior hapa utaangalia mtu kama like who are the top 5 customers, si ndio? Wenye wametununua sana top 5. What are the customers buying? Yeah, so there could be an analysis for customer behavior, but then there's sales analysis and then there's profitability analysis. Let us start with those 2 pages and present something tomorrow. Are we together, Emily? Yeah, I saw your dashboards. You could go and just edit them, but focus that maybe page ya kwanza ikuwe sales analysis, page ya pili profit. Then from there, you could even now be answering questions or telling somebody, or do even a write-up here, a text box. Do a write-up here and summarize what you have seen. So you could see from the analysis above, we sold this and this, most people are buying this, what, which segment? Maybe consumer segment is leading in sales. So you could maybe draw 5 outcomes of your analysis of page 1 and do a report here for you, what we call this text box. Otherwise, let me just, yeah. So that's it. We see Gloria, are you good? Michael, Mariwa, James, Steve, and I've seen Rita. Rita, are you together? Are we together? And Dr. I hope you're good. Okay. Yeah. So let us go and rework on it. And by the way, kitu inakwanga very important ni just how you present your dashboard. Don't just throw things. Yeah. Usirushe tu vitu, rushe tu hapo, rushe hapa. Yeah. And even something else that you did not have not mentioned. You can even have a table. You can have a table that is just showing maybe something like this. Customer segment. Let me say customer segment. I have customer segment kama hii consumer, corporate and all that. And then I have even maybe something like quantity that was bought by those areas. You can see 92,157 quantity bought by consumer. After that sum of quantity, I could even have something like what? Sales. So this one translated to 6 million. So 92,157 quantity bought, 6 million value, purchase value, and even. You can even add another thing if you want, which is maybe discount. You can see discount that was given for those areas. So that is something, and then you also ensure that it has a comma for easy readability. Even this part for sum of quantity, you also add a comma there. You can change the names, the headers of these columns, and that is that. So that is the table. Otherwise, if there's no question, let's meet tomorrow. But go and do something so that tomorrow before the class starts, for the first maybe 10 minutes, mtu anaonyesha dashboard yake, and also show creativity in terms of even arrangement of your dashboard, and also in terms of the choice of colors. I'm not saying you go and use the colors that I've used, and I've also not said that you go and ensure that you have a border around your nini, because I've also had a border, and I've not said that maybe you have a rounded corners. This is just on you. Go and do you, and let us see creativity. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
James, we are using the same file.
Yeah, we are using the same file, Superstore.
Okay.
Yeah, it was part of the assignment. So the same file that you used, just use it, and because you've had some concepts from today's class, and you can see maybe this one coming to life. There's something that I've not talked about, background color of your nini, right? Because we are still maintaining white. There are those other things that you can now look into. But tomorrow we'll also do another deep dive into the data. Thank you so much. Bye.